زواج مبارك النكاح من سنتي.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته, my dear brothers in Islam, and welcome back to another episode of Happily Ever After. And now we're still continuing to talk about the brothers in Islam, inshallah, how to look after duties towards your wife. Now again, just a quick reminder, inshallah, about the wife in itself. Remember, my dear brother, Allah subhanahu wa jalla fi'ula has mentioned a few things in the Quran, and we talked about it, and we'll continue talking about it now, but let me talk about the sister itself. Because Allah subhanahu wa jalla fi'ula gave us specific characters, and Ibn al-Qayyim rahmatullahi alayhi says the word ummah, the ummah in itself, is made of the word the mother. So you're really looking after what exactly? So you'll have to understand, because it says that mothers or women are half of the ummah, and they give birth to the other half of the ummah. That means they are the whole ummah. So you understand, akhi, if you're looking after your wife, you're really looking after the whole ummah. And that's basically what we're looking after. I've seen a video, wallahi, before that a brother sent to me. Subhanallah, I was very amazed. This is kind of a hidden camera. It was somewhere in Europe. Doesn't matter where it is. And they have seen a man and a woman. You know, the man is giving a hard time to the woman a bit, and it was a public place like a mall. You know, this was just another sister in humanity. It was not muhajjaba, not known to be a Muslim. And people were walking by, you know, not really caring what happens to her and so on. They just look around, move on. They're not interested. They don't want to intervene or interfere. Basically, let be. And now they did the same sin with the sister who was wearing hijab. Subhanallah. You should have seen their reaction. Allahu Akbar. Wallahi, I was so proud of the brothers. You know, everybody was trying to stop the brother, don't harm the sister because she's a Muslim sister. And this was still in Europe, not the majority Muslims. We're not asking you to go and fight and whatever it is. But I'm trying to tell you, akhi, what this means. And one brother, subhanallah, wallahi, he grabbed this man that was offending the sister, Muslim sister, pushed him against the wall and lifted him up. I wanted to go inside the screen and hug and kiss this brother because he is protecting our honor. And let me tell you why it's our honor. Look, long time ago, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam prepared a whole army, akhi, for the honor of one woman, that one man that raised her thub, just to show her a little bit of awrah. Now I understand that now, alhamdulillah, Allah help us all. Now the awrah is all over the place and we're volunteering, subhanallah, may Allah help us. But look at the honor of women in Islam, and that's who you're dealing with, my brother. And that's exactly what we're telling you. Even long time after even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one woman that was actually given a hard time in a different land, long, far away. And she just simply says that meaning at the time was called Mu'tasim. So she cleared it different and cleared it out. She says, Wa Mu'tasima. The message was sent to Amir al-Mu'mineen at the time, al-Mu'tasim, and he sent 100,000 strong armies of men that are going to, says, once they got to there, says the freed the woman, he says, Ha ana ajiruk. I am your servant. Not amiruk, I'm not your amir, I am your servant, subhanallah. And that woman that was very smart, she says, Al-Islam allamana al-afu inda al-maqdira. Islam taught us to do what? Pardon and forgive when we have the ability. You understand what this means, akhi? Now we're supposed to be protecting our sisters, defending the honor of our sisters. This is in history and it repeats itself. And all of a sudden, we are the cause of harming our sisters? It's impossible. Remember, this is not just your wife that you will be held accountable for, as we talked about in the previous episodes, that you are supposed to be even thinking about it as a Muslim sister, subhanallah. And Islam, la darar wa la dirar. There is no harming or receiving harm. So I want you to keep that in mind and making sure that you understand who you're dealing with. That this is somebody's daughter, somebody's mother, somebody's aunt, somebody's neighbor, somebody's daughter, and so on. So you're looking at the woman, akhi, my dear brother, is that we really raise them high. And according to Islam, is the only religion on the face of the earth that raises women 3 times higher than men. Because of that simple fact that, mashallah, they go through the labor, through the nursing, and all of these things, my brother. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He is the source of peace and tranquility, you have to think of that source of peace and tranquility. Speaking of that, akhi and ukhti, I want to remind you again what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, and He used something very precious. Listen carefully. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Made between the two of you mawadda wa rahma, which means what? Mawadda, as we talked about, is the act in compassionate, forbearing love. But where does that come from? It is derived from what? From wadud, the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And rahma, we says that comes from ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, between the two of you, the bond between the two of you, the pillar of how to have this beautiful home, that home sweet home that you will have inshallah between the two of you to be happily ever after, is derived from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't that amazing? Look at the beauty of the relationship, akhi. So now you're supposed to be the protector, not the one that causes harm. And we talked about it, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that. الرجال قوامون على النساء. You are there responsible over her, you're a protector over her. And that's what it is. And that's the reason when I tell the sisters to look for a brother that is qawi and ameen, strong and trustworthy. Of course, strong because when she looked at Musa alayhi salam, he held a big stone that he actually got rid of to be able to look after her. And ameen because he was obviously walking ahead of her and she just threw a stone, whether debatable between the scholars, authenticated or not. So I am asking you, akhi. We said before that the qawi, the strength has to be dealt with in a proper manner, not misused or abused. That's why we're looking for ameen, a trustworthy. Now, can I ask you, akhi, are you really ameen with your wife? I don't mean brother ameen. I mean, are you ameen? Are you trustworthy? You know what I mean? Are you taking her, are you leading her to hellfire? Are you leading her to heaven, inshallah? What I mean by that, if you see your wife sleeping at night, and it's a cold night, and the window is open in the bedroom, will you not close the window? Of course you would. How could you open the gates of hellfire and close the gates of heaven, instead of closing the gates of hellfire and open the gates of heaven? May Allah make us among the keys. فاتح للخير مغاليق للشر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has slaves on the face of the earth that work on His behalf to do what? They have the keys to open the doors of righteousness and close the gates of evil. That means you come in, my dear brother. And I'm telling you what I mean by that is if you see her doing something wrong, akhi, help her. Correct her nicely in a way that is the first, وَعِظُوهُنْ. Admonish him nicely. Now, this is the first step. And we talked about the second step in a way that, وَهْجُرُهُنَّ فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. Turn you back in bed. That means it's not a party time where you can actually leave the house. Okay, I'll do whatever I want. It's not the case. It's fil madaji', you see, in bed. Now, this is the idea. And of course, we have steps. Some steps that we don't have to take, but it's an option that you don't have to take. But I'm telling you, you're supposed to guide her, set her back on the straight path, not the other way around. So here's what I'm trying to tell you, akhi. You cannot be the brother that tell your wife to take off the hijab. I can't tell you how many times I have sisters crying on the phone or sending me messages. And they tell me, even my father is trying to tell me, if you wear the hijab, I disown you. And my husband is telling me, take off the hijab, shorten the dress, open up and show a few things. Subhanallah. Have you not heard, akhi, of the hadith? This is لا يدخلك the youth. The youth here, for lack of a better word, ما يرى القبح على أهله ويرضى به. If you see something wrong about your wife and you're okay with that, as a matter of fact, you're the one who's telling her to do that. Subhanallah. The banner in Jannah says that this type of a person will not be admitted to Jannah. So please, akhi, wallahi, this poor slave of Allah, when I asked my wife's hand in marriage, I told her, are you ready to go to Jannah? You will not hear me say, I said. You will hear me say, قال الله, قال Rasul, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And that's what we're supposed to be, leading the ship, akhi. You are the qawama. The qawama is yours. You're responsible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you that responsibility for a reason. But that comes with the responsibility in itself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a rank. لِلْرِجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةً. This rank is the responsibility. And the qawama is, that's all what it takes, inshallah. So please keep in mind, my brother, who are you looking after and what you're looking for and what your purpose is after this. I want to be with you in Jannah, honey. Let's do this. So is your husband leading you to Jannah, ukhti, or is your husband leading you to hellfire? Now I'm talking to you, my brother. Are you going to be in stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Says, Ya Allah, you said the hijab here in An-Nur 31, Ahzab 59, but you know what? I'm not going to take this Quran. Your words, no problems. I love you and everything, but I'm going to take the tradition here because you know what? Unfortunately, the culture here does not allow for that. So when you stand in front of Allah, do you think that will do? Now, ukhti, I'll talk to you about that a little bit later, inshallah, in the episodes when we talk about your duties as a wife towards your husband, inshallah. I'm just talking to your husband now. Something else, my brother, please understand that a few things that I have to go down the list with you. Now, when I talk to you first, we said that it's only fair. I'm talking to you first because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put you in charge and He talked to you first. Now, what else can I do? Please understand that the romance never dies. I understand that part. So when we talk about this option in itself, we're going to talk about jealousy now, okay? So, you're the jealous type, not the other way around. You're the one that says, okay, go ahead, do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter to me. But I'm talking about the other way around now, the jealous type. And I'm going to talk to the sisters. Be careful a little bit, ukhti, when it comes to the brother-in-law. I'll talk about these issues because, again, These episodes, we said before that these are addressing social issues. We're not going to go deep into the fiqh issues and all of the aqidah issues. I'm talking about now social issues that we have that we deal in day out. Now, my dear brother, the jealousy is within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the man that is jealous. Yes, but within the right attitude and the right his frame of mind and the right concept and not one way or the other. So if I talk about the jealousy, we have to make sure it's in the proper context, in the proper means, not to stifle the sister and so on. Yeah, I understand that jealousy is there, but if you take it to an extreme, akhi and ukhti, it's a major disaster, and I've gotten enough stories that I have to tell you, but I'm going to leave you with one. This brother came to me and the sister was in tears. He's following her, he's calling her at work, he's making sure that he has somebody to Allahu Akbar. He says, akhi, you have an illness you have to cure. Is it you because you have committed something in your life that you think that your wife is going to be now doing the same thing? You think it's a debt you have to repay and making sure that that doesn't happen to you? You have to seek professional help, akhi. Wallahi. I'm not joking in these matters. Please, don't stifle your wife. Don't make sure that you have to do this and you can't do that. You're talking this. What? I saw you looking at this. Ya Allah. Subhanallah. So please, I'm not asking you to do something haram or do something haram and you're okay with that. La wallahi. But I don't want you to go overboard, inshallah. Speaking of that, when it comes to permissibility for her to go out, yes, I understand that part, but please agree on certain things that you will have to do between the two of you, inshallah, which is going to be after this break, inshallah. So please stay with us. I'd love to continue with you. Thank you for sharing the time with us and bringing us to your home. We will see you after the break, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك.
The best 10 days of our life.
And proclaim the pilgrimage among men. They will come to thee on foot and mounted on every camel. Lean on account of journeys through deep and distant mountain highways.
A unique opportunity to get closer to Allah. To learn more, follow their upcoming series on the virtues of the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك اللهم.
Learn how we can draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during these days which are full of blessings and great rewards in the virtues of the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. Tomorrow at 11 p.m. and repeat telecast at 12:30 p.m. India on Peace TV. Peace TV presents over 100 million viewers at one of the largest peace conferences in the world, addressing a sea of spellbound spectators. Over 30 world-renowned orators on Islam with credentials impeccable.
The truth of Islam.
Deen is your way of life. It is our duty, our obligation.
By following the Quran and Sunnah, we will give the message to one and all.
With articulation exquisite.
Read the book of Allah.
Islam is the easy way. It's the simple way.
Remind each other.
The Muslim is not a source of harm for other people.
Collaborate with the people for good.
This is the call of Islam.
With the mission of spreading the truth of Islam.
Do what you can to spread the word of Islam.
Wherever we are,
Live like Muslims.
Use your power.
Allah is saying, why do you need anything else? This Quran is self-sufficient.
Only book on the face of the globe, the Quran.
How a human being should lead his life is given in this instruction manual, the glorious Quran.
For peace to prevail on earth in Peacemakers. Next on Peace TV.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulullah, amma ba'd, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, and welcome back to the second half of this episode. We're still talking to our brothers in Islam how to look after your wife, your better half, for what we know of, and of course what we know that is the measuring stick. That we talked about it earlier. Before the break, we were talking about permissibility, as we talked about jealousy earlier before that, so please keep it in context. Don't go overboard, don't stifle your wife. Now, we'll link into that, given permissibility when she goes outside. So I understand that a woman is supposed to be asking for permission before she goes. But if she's asking you every time, akhi, please understand, you should have some kind of a trust between you and your wife. Otherwise, you married the wrong girl. If you don't trust her, why did you marry her? So now you don't want to marry her and make her life miserable. That's terrible, because resentment is a bad thing. This is one of the reasons I tell you that the couples will not go back, because of the R word, the resentment. So let us now talk about the permissibility. So agree on certain issues. You know, honey, if you go to these type of people, no problems, I'm okay with that. As long as you just give me a heads up, honey, I'll be going there. You know what? So when I'm not going to be concerned, I'm not going to be worried if I call at home. Maybe you don't have a cell. You know, that I'm not going to be worried over where you are and all of these things. So I'll just know where you are. You don't have to ask me for permission every time that you have to go outside the door. So please, this is one of the advice I give couples, that you should agree on certain things. And of course, these are the issues that we discuss. You also go into the in-laws and so on. Speaking of the in-laws now, my dear brother, I'm going to talk to you about certain things. And now I'm going to talk to your sister also about certain things. Let's just be fair here, akhi. Okay, so right now, she lives, you know, at home, and you're supposed to be looking after your wife because she's responsibility. Now you have a little bit of the NATO, you know, the World War III is coming up, and may Allah help you between the two powers. You have your wife on one side, and you have your mother on the other side. Now your mother gives a little bit things, and you know, she's not very comfortable with that, and she may transgress on certain issues. Not only your mother, you're only to be carried, and plus, on top of all of that, your sisters are now heckling and giving hard time to your wife. She's overwhelmed, you know, outnumbered, and she comes crying to you and says, you know what, this is my family. Wallahi, akhi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that وَقُلْ الْحَقِّ, say the truth. And it says, اعدلوا, be fair. قوامين بالقسط. You know, even the qist is higher than adl. Not even fair, is higher, is more than fair, more than just. He says, وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ, say the truth, set the record straight, even against yourself. Subhanallah, ajib wallahi, even against your parents, but of course in a nice manner, in a nice way. I'm not asking you to take on your parents. I'm asking you to enjoin good and forbid evil, akhi, in a nice way, in a matter that you can with trust. Now all I'm asking you is to stand for what's right. No, I'm not asking you to take on your mother and go that, wal-iyadu billah. No, wallahi, abadan, never. But if you don't defend what's right, your wife will lose respect for you. And guess what, champ? Number one on the men's list, believe it or not, is respect. That's what a man looks for from his wife. If she loses respect for you, my brother, you will just become a male, no longer a man. So I'm asking you to act like a man, not a male. Because if that's the case, if he loses respect for you, you will resent her, and the breaking of the family will start. And it all stems from something that you looked at, your mother did something wrong, and your sister did something wrong in the house, you turned and walked away. Now your wife is saying, wait a second here, oh, I'm on your turf, I'm your responsibility, and you've decided to cop out. That's terrible, you're a coward. You can't do that. She won't tell you that, but she will hold it inside. Now if once goes by, second time, third time, after a while, you know what, akhi? You have to step in and be good. Please understand that that's what happens. That's what the sisters come in and complain about. You know, you've seen me doing this, and you've seen that. It says, you know, this is my family. Yes, they're not infallible, my brother. You know, I'll give you, inshallah, one way to do it. First, you can try in the third person. Now, if you don't want to take on your mother, or you want to take on, it's not really usually the father. Is, again, with all due respect to mother-in-laws out there, And I'm sure the sisters are listening to me at this point. They're the best mother-in-laws. They're not the mother-in-laws that we're going. Not these type, inshallah. These are the best mother-in-laws. They're the ones that welcome their daughter-in-law. They take them under the wing. They respect them as their own daughter. They encourage them to do the right thing and so on. You know, they're more of a mother figure for them, not a mother-in-law, as we mentioned earlier on. So what is the issue? If you can't take it on, what you do is you speak a third person. You either speak in a third person or get somebody else to address it. Somebody that is respectable in the family, someone they will listen to and they would actually heed to it. And of course, the story stems from Al-Hasan wal-Husayn radiallahu anhuma wa an Ahl Bayt al-Athar. You know, when they saw an older man did not know how to make wudu properly, you know what they did? They started with the terms of endearment. They said, Ya Amma. And that's what I'm asking you, to be respectful to your mother, of course. I'm not asking you to be disrespectful. La wallahi. Okay, so make sure that you do that. So he said, Ya Amma, terms of endearment. Talking to the older man. He says, اختلفت أنا وأخي في الوضوء. My brother and I differed of how to make the wudu. You understand? This is something that he didn't say, you're an old fool, you know, you're making wrong, let me teach you something. And what did he say? He says they perfected their wudu. And now the man already knew that how to make wudu properly. He knew that he was wrong. They didn't have to tell him that he was wrong. Showed him. And that's the case, akhi. That's how you handle your mother, especially your sisters, please. And tell her, listen, if you don't respect my wife, that means you're not respecting me. If you have an issue with her, you come to me. You don't take her directly. And I understand how the mind works behind your brother's back or whatever it is. You do all these games. And when they come back, oh, lovey, lovey, there's no problem. Oh, it's the one, it's her. When they gang up on the life, I get that a lot. May Allah help us all and make us come back to Quran and Sunnah. How do we do that to each other? How could it be possible that we want to break a home? For what? Who's going to gain? If you really love your brother, for that matter, and if you really love your son, ukhti, why do you want to make his life miserable? Because, you know, you wanted him to marry his cousin, whatever, and because you want to do this barter system. If you marry this, I will marry that. Again, I'm not afraid to address issues, wallahi. Know that I'm ever going to stick my head in the sand. And I'm not talking about you specifically. I don't know you. There's nothing personal. I'm just telling you, here's what I deal with all the time. And here's where the issues, and here's the culture that comes in. But let's behave as Muslims. Wallahi, you will be happy in this life and the hereafter. If that's the case, my dear brother, you will earn the respect and you will actually deserve it. So you will have to do so. If that's the case, you will deserve what it is that comes to you, inshallah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do that for you, inshallah. If that's the case, I congratulate you in advance. Now, what else is there? So we have to understand that there are a few things that you have to look after. And we said before, you know, the competition. The competition. What does that mean? Competition against yourself. What I mean by that, look at yourself in the mirror. And look at the picture when you took or whatever it is on your cell phone and all of that stuff. I want you to go back and compete with that guy. Yes. Because I always want you to look after yourself, inshallah. I want you to make sure that you're there for her. I want you to make sure that you're dressed for her. And that's for that time now. I'm going to give you Ahmad ibn Hanbal's letter for his son. And all the scholars, we respect all of our scholars, whatever they may be, inshallah. May Allah bless them for devoting their whole lives to teach us. He's given his son a letter. He says, oh, my son. Women, so please listen carefully. He says, women, oh, my son, like two things. They like to be pampered and like to be loved. Remember what I told you what was number one on your side? It was respect. But guess what, akhi? What's number one on her side? I just mentioned it. It's love. So women want to hear, I love you. And you want to be pampered. So he says, please do not be a miser in these two things. So first of all, I'm going to remind you again, please make sure you show her terms of endearment, again, through affection, through touches, through a beautiful smile, a kiss, a hug, a beautiful gift, anything like that that you said that you're investing in the emotional bank. Please never go under or go overdrawn in the red. You'll be in trouble. Because the more that you invest in this relationship that you're actually adding. I want you to think this emotional bag as what? As a bank. So every time that you're saying something nice, every time you give her a gift, every time you kiss her, every time you hug her, every time you say, I really appreciate what you do for us, it's like a deposit in the bank. And every time you make a mistake, it's the withdrawn. It's just making sure you're not overdrawn. So the letter comes in for his son. He says, please note that the women like two things, that they want to be pampered and they want to be loved. So please don't be miser with these two things. So you learn now, I can't be miser even though I cannot afford it. I'm not financially. And I will also talk about the aspects of finance right after this, inshallah. So when we talk about the letter comes in and he says, this is her domain. You know, that as a princess on arsh, you know, the throne. He says, don't compete with her at home. Yes, akhi, you do your thing. So if you see something that you don't like, then, turn a blind eye, akhi. Look something else. Maybe that's her domain. This is what she lives. You're hardly at home. You come and use it as a hotel. You come and work, sleep, and eat, and whatever that and you go back out again. She lives there. So please remember, this is her arsh, this is the throne. Please understand that you should make sure that she is comforted there. And he says that she is made from understand her nature, that she's created from a bint rib, according to the hadith. He says now, enjoy her as is, because if you want to straighten her rib, it will break, and breaking meaning what? Meaning divorce. He says, تَمَتَّعُوا بِهِنَّ عَلَىٰ عِوَيْجِهِنَّ. Enjoy them as they are. So keep that in mind. And he says that they're asra, they are hostages. Prophet Muhammad says, عَوَانٌ عِنْدَكُمْ. Subhanallah. عَوَانٌ عِنْدَكُمْ. And I have to unfortunately go and continue on for one more episode, inshallah. This is the end of this episode, asking you to come back and join us one more time. And I'm asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward you for your time and effort, and thank you for making us part of your family, inviting us to your home. And we'll see you next episode, inshallah. Jazakumullah anna khaira. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
From this day on, forever be true.